Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first Deliver More of 2023. Deliver More, of course, is brought to you by the exceptional team here at InTech Services. It's a new year, and we have a special Firearms episode waiting for you. And with me is the man who is always ready to comp you tickets to the gun show. I'm talking about Steve Bucci. Steve, flexing them out. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. It's good to be here with you. Now, can I ask you this? Are you, this time of year, first couple of weeks in January, are you a resolution guy?
You know, I'm usually not.
Yeah?
I try to keep things, steady throughout the year.
Yeah.
But it's always good to do that at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody's big on it. And, of course, the big one is just staying healthy. It's always good to lose a couple LBs if you can.
Couple LBs.
That's always a go-to one,
Yeah.
especially after packing it on over the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and here we are,
Yeah.
already into 2023. So, it could be tough. But a big one for me, I've got a little guy now.
Okay,
who,
yeah.
is just about to turn a year old. And I've been reading books more with him.
Oh, yeah?
And that's kind of intrigued me to something I never really got into. So I think New Year's resolution for myself is to, do like a book every couple months, maybe a quarter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What a great
No
resolution.
idea what I'm going to read about, but I'm sure, it'll all be good.
I love it.
I'll fill you in next time on what I read about.
Please
Yeah.
do. We'll check you for updates. I like the health and wellness resolution to start the year out.
Yeah.
It's a little different than mine.
I was going to ask you what's yours. Yeah.
It's just to follow the InTech LinkedIn more than I usually do,
That's-
and visit the marketplace more.
That's a great
So
idea.
those are both. I'm focused. I'm ready to go.
I like that.
In the new year.
It's an important place to be.
It certainly
Everybody
is.
needs to do it.
It's certainly. I do think everyone needs to do it. Now, if we're getting right to this, Steve, I know you have a full dance card for the month of January in 2023. We are here to talk about the topic of the firearms market. Now,
Right. Yep.
Again, this is not a new market from my understanding. I mean, we're going back to the Revolutionary War.
I was exactly right. That's a great point. I was going to make a similar, example with firearms. Everybody knows has been around for years, from muskets all the way up to now with the new technologies. Previously they've been, really aimed at just the firearm itself and not really too much from a performance standpoint. And
Okay.
what we found over the years, recently, I should say, is the current surface treatments, or the old ones that were around for a long time with those firearms as they developed, parkerizing, bluing as an example, those in particular become, in a sense, obsolete.
Okay.
And that's more due to they only offer one or two specific benefits, maybe corrosion resistance, a little bit of durability, things like that. But what they lack is lubricity, and that's where Teflon really finds its space in that industry, offering that lubricious, and that's where we really excel. Teflon itself has been around for years as well, not quite as long as firearms,
Sure.
and they never really had the opportunity to kind of marry each other and become, join forces, for lack of better words. And I had the pleasure of meeting an engineer at one of the larger firearm markets or firearm manufacturers on the East Coast a few years back, and that's kind of where this kind of kick-started off. Was having some good conversations. He was explaining, some shortcomings they were having with what they were looking for, because as the, firearms developed technology-wise, so did the demand for performance out of the parts and things that they were putting together, because they were, doing it in-house. And he was explaining to me what he was doing. Parkerizing was one of them, and bluing, a little bit of anodizing, some other things we hear about in the firearms market. And that's where we really found where, we said, hey, let's try some Teflon. And we had an existing product. We tried a few different ones. He realized, man, this stuff is way better than I thought. He always knew the Teflon name. A lot of people, recognize that over the years from DuPont and now Chemours. And that's really where it took off for us with Teflon and getting involved in that. And then the kicker was for us to really press forward. I feel, the market demanded colors. And that's where, outside of black, because black is what we had to offer at the time. And
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. That's correct. Yeah, that was really it. So when we started, outreaching a few more people over the past year or so, a couple years, year and a half, whatever it may be, we kept hearing, we love the black, but if we're going to make a change, as an example, if someone was using an existing, either surface treatment or coating or combination of, they were saying, we need an OD green, we need this color, we need that. And that's where, Chemours has never really been a player. They don't really have elaborate colors to offer, things like that. So recently, in the past 6 months, we've really developed, after listening to a lot of feedback from, current manufacturers, customers, just the whole business, from studying it over the past year or so, we uncovered, the top 2 outside of black coatings or colors that we were going after. So that's kind of ties in with everything, with your question of firearms isn't necessarily new. Teflon's not new either, but it's new to us in the past, recently.
Yeah, and I guess, when you look at a market expanding, certain things had to happen. Use the terminology, for you joining forces here.
Yes.
So I guess, Teflon's never the cheapest solution. So you have a little price coming down a little bit.
Yeah, that was always, price sensitivity, especially when we were talking, in parts of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions sometimes, for depending on what kind of part it is. So that was something that, as the market demanded more of that technology advance, and they wanted a coating or, a surface treatment of some sort that offered not only the what they were used to seeing, along with that comes a higher price. And Teflon was always, it's a premium product.
Sure.
You pay for what you get. I mean, fluoropolymers aren't cheap, and that's something that we offer in that market that all these other coatings that are out there really don't offer. Cerakote being one of them. Sandstrom, and like I said, we're in competition with, anodizing, things like that. But Teflon really shines from the lubricity standpoint in that.
Well, I was going to ask you, Steve, about, we know the quality, but we're talking about the solutions that exist. You mentioned a few that are inferior to Teflon. You mentioned Cerakote. You mentioned bluing. What about substrates?
Yeah, so that's something that we only can do metal components.
Okay.
So we are aware that there are some plastics and some resin parts that go along with these, whether it's a hand grip, something along that line. But we feel that the majority of the market is either steel or aluminum for the most part, and that's the space we want to be in. We don't have an air dry, type of coating. These are all thermally set, so that's why the substrate has to be a metal of some sort that we can fit into.
Very nice, very nice. All right, well, look, as a novice here, talk to me a little bit about give me the benefits of coating with Teflon. It's some examples of parts and things that are traditionally coated with Teflon in the market.
Yeah. Let's start with some benefits. Maybe that's probably a good place to start. The high lubricity, that's a big one. Fluoropolymers, I mentioned that already. That's a space that, like I said, we're really when we get a hold of somebody, whether it's a manufacturer or just someone that's interested in using our coating, a small coating shop, it doesn't matter. We definitely emphasize that fluoropolymers are fairly new in this market. We don't really have too much competition there. Ceramic-based coatings are one thing, but that lubricity that you get from a fluoropolymer and being a premium product that Teflon is, that's one of the main benefits that you're going to get. I think another one probably is going to be durability. Mm-hmm. The durability test is definitely there. They're out there. You can, anywhere from lab tests to field tests. It's been proven the durability is at least as good as, if not better than most of the others that we've talked about in the competition world of the coatings and solutions out there for firearms.
So, all right, if I flip the switch a little bit, talk about the manufacturing side. Is it a big deal for manufacturers, engineers to switch coatings?
It's a yes and no.
Okay.
It's really one of those things where it depends on, if the work's being done for the government, military, law enforcement. They all kind of fall in the same line to the other side of the fence, which is consumer. And it's a big market for consumers. The example I used is, the large manufacturer in the Southeast, they primarily do consumers, and that's enthusiasts, hunters, sportsmen, all that line.
Okay.
Hobbyists, things like that. So I would say in that space, the spec parts are primarily for government military. They're going to spend a lot of time critiquing it, looking at it, making sure that it's everything they want. They're going to cross all their I's and cross their T's and dot their I's, excuse me.
So in that basket collectively with law enforcement, military, that's the specification-driven part of the industry?
Right.
Okay.
The interesting thing is, and I've had several conversations with these manufacturers, their engineers specifically, because they're the ones, if they have an existing one, it can be tough to get a spec to change.
Sure.
But it's not impossible.
Uh-huh.
And I explained to them that we can go out to their site. We can have a deeper conversation about what they're using, Maybe they're just not familiar with our product. And that's usually what it is. They know the name Teflon. They're like, oh, man, I never knew you guys did this. I always thought of my, frying pans.
Sure.
And I hear it all the time, every day. So, when we can offer that on-site, training or, a phone, technology allows us to do so much these days. And, sampling and things like that, it makes it a lot easier for us to do that. Face-to-face would be ideal. But like I said, at the end of the day, they're going to want to test down to the nitty-gritty, see stats and see this and that. Mm-hmm. Where on the opposite side of that spectrum, you got guys who are just looking for an appearance, just looking for a look, something,
Pure aesthetics.
Yeah, pure aesthetics. And that's something that, is on the consumer side for sure. They want that. And that was another benefit that I think, I didn't get to, but since we brought that up, the appearance.
Let's do it.
That matte finish is huge. It really makes a difference. The last thing you want to do is be out, whether you're in the military and you're out in the field, God forbid in a war or something, and you're out hiding in the desert, and the sun captures your weapon and you get a reflection. That's the worst thing you want to happen.
Yeah.
And you want something with a dull finish of matte, and that's what this coating offers right off the bat. It wasn't even designed that way. It just happens to work out that it's it was
just a happy accident.
A happy accident, yeah. So like I said, it really fits that part of it well. And for a hunter, as an example, another example from the consumer side,
sure.
They're up in a tree stand and they're hunting a deer. They don't want, if a beam of sun comes down, they don't want the animal seeing the reflection in their eyes and it spooks them away. And then they're up there for another 4 hours waiting for the next, deer to come by.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things are very, very important. The other thing is thin film. It's, we offer very, for tolerances. That's important, probably more on the spec side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're putting together a rail and an upper, or the bolt action, any of those parts that fit very snugly together, I make sure that the engineers that are looking at maybe moving over from a Cerakote to Teflon, they won't have to change more than likely anything that they already have from a design standpoint of that particular weapon. So those parts, like I said, they're specifically designed. They probably don't want to mess with changing that on top of the coating, so they're willing to look at it. But the thin film really offers a benefit, for anybody that's looking to make a change, for sure.
I'm thinking of like the way that we started the conversation, Steve, and we were saying that here's a market that existed. It's just Teflon hadn't jumped in, right? And now we're talking about this is a legitimate market. You mentioned, law enforcement, military.
It's huge.
Those are contracts that are enormous when those things go out. And then you bring up the consumer side. So this market is expanded into something so significant that now you're going out and you're traveling to shows now.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, this is a huge market, and January in particular is going to be a really busy month for you, right?
Yes, it is, and that's coming up very quick. Yeah, we're January 16th through the 20th.
Okay.
We're going to be out in Las Vegas at the Venetian Expo.
All right.
And it's such a large show that they actually move over in addition and added in some space to the Caesars Forum.
Across the street.
Across the street.
All right, so we're talking big expansion.
Joint forces here again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to be 16th and 17th is where we're going to be tabling. Myself, Chris Lord. We might have another couple guests popping by that some people may recognize.
So you're going to be manning a table for the duration of this thing.
Yep.
Now tell me, who attends this kind of show?
Yeah, you're going to have mainly everybody we talked about. You're going to have. I was there last year without tabling, just to walk and get a feel for it, see who was out there. Tons of military people, other manufacturers that are looking for stuff. So where we're going to be posted up is the supplier showcase, and that is specific to exactly what we're trying to do. It's a great way for people to come see us.
Yeah.
And it gives us great exposure for the first time representing Teflon out there. Mm-hmm. But you'll have also them to anybody that's maybe a small collector, maybe walking around,
Yeah.
But obviously our focus is going to be on to help out with some of the larger contracts, as an example, or some of the manufacturers that are doing the work in house, maybe outsourcing it, or maybe just not sure what they want to do. And that's what we're going to be there for. We're going to have great examples of parts out on the table.
You're gonna have,
with our colors. We're going to have our new flat dark earth represented out there.
Nice.
Our OD green. We're going to have obviously the matte black, and we'll just have a bunch of things there to see, sample panels if you'd like to take them, and most importantly, just faces to talk to. People like myself and Chris Lord will be there.
Yeah.
And we'll just share our knowledge. If you got any questions to ask, that's what we're there for. It's the best time to do it.
Well, I think this is where, speaking just on personal experience, this is where you guys tend to shine too, because it's such a technical topic or field, whatever you want to call it. I think you guys one-on-one with people, or when people coming up to you and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, but could Teflon help me out? This is where you get to do your best work as far as Q&A kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, last year, as an example, I met somebody that wanted a magazine coded. One of their they had a specific, I don't know if it was a 30 or 40 round magazine for a specific design. So he was actually there walking to show himself. So we met. And then I saw one of the people that use our coding currently and actually introduced him so he could see our coding there, which was great. And the magazines are great. That's a huge market. So anybody that's looking to have magazines coded, just that in itself. I mean, not only for the States, but overseas. A lot of these parts that we're doing are overseas as well for their militaries. And Teflon's really spreading out there. And that drop and load speed that's gained from the lubricity of the magazine. You can imagine those fractions of seconds really matter. In the law enforcement world, we had SWAT teams study it. I mean, and those guys love coming up and talking to us.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see them and hear their stories, and some of the testing that was done. That's one thing I didn't touch base on, but I'd like to, share that story. That's always a good one. The guys down in the Southeast that initially looked at this coding and got us kind of kick-started. They literally took our coding, Cerakote, and one other, and they tied it to the back of a truck. On rope and dragged it down with the weapons that were coated with Teflon and those other two coatings, and ran them for a couple miles, brought them back, and that was the durability test they gave them. So that's a real life example. You don't get that out of a lab.
Yeah,
and that's the stuff that matters to these guys.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Now I know you guys you're great working the phones. Everybody here at Intech is, but I think one-on-one when people can get up and see why you guys are such fountains of knowledge and why they want to give you a call. Sure. I know you got to be anxious to get back out on the road and meet some new people, get some new contracts.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's always fun. It's always fun. That's why I love doing this.
All right. So look, it's going to be the middle of January at the SHOT Show out in Las Vegas. You're at the Venetian and you're at Caesars. You're going to be performing anywhere while you're out there? A couple one-night shows?
Yeah, a couple shows.
He'll be guesting with Barry Manilow and then Penn and Teller because Teller's sick.
I usually fill in for him sometimes.
Yeah,
actually,
that's going to be great, man.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait.
Look for me out there.
Look, Steve, it's been a blast getting.
I heard you're going to Vegas. You need a corner man, make sure everything's smooth and everything else, man. Just want to make sure you go get some water.
Thanks, Mick.
Hey, man. Yeah, exactly. Make sure Nick had to come check on my guy.
No, I'm amazed.
He's a corner man.
No,
Mickey, right?
no, pretty much. Yeah. Are you going to have him throw the left? Is he going to go fight southpaw?
Well, that's what we're trying to determine, man. We're trying to determine how we're the plan of attack.
Just
want to make sure he's okay right now.
He's been favoring the right the whole time. Now that your corner man came in, you can start going southpaw. We got this.
Stick and move. Stick and move.
Is that it?
Man.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Rub that non-stick on you. Be good to go.
Thanks for coming by.
Look, we have our guest.
Yeah.
Steve Bucci has his own. He has his own corner man in true Las Vegas fashion. He's going to be in Vegas with Chris Lord and representing Intech Services at the SHOT Show.
Let's go! Can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah, you can see Steve and our team from Intech Services. Thank you for joining us on Deliver More. We're going to see you next time from Delaware. Bye bye now.
See you guys.